Kelly Babcock here.
And Terry Norvell, and we are thrilled to bring you the fourth in our summer series. Now, each of these seminars of sorts, I guess I would call it, a little mini seminar, are intended to give you tools that you can actionize immediately. So let's look at the agenda for today. Achieving a mental makeover. That's our topic. How to be happier, healthier, more productive, the best version of you, all through taking a look at achieving a mental makeover. So this topic is tied in very tightly to our leadership growth formula. This session today is about internal change, what's going on within each of us that then marries up with chosen external action to equal or create or manifest, whatever you want to call it, those desired results that you would like to achieve. And we always have to start, that's a big statement, right? Always. Yet it's so true with that internal, what's going on within each of us. Now, our leadership growth formula is really a culmination of a lot of research, not only the years of study that Kelly and I bring to the program. It's founded in neuroscience, the study of the brain, or the brain in action, the mind, and how that ties in and why it's essential today in leadership. Neuro-linguistic programming, neuro, the mind, linguistic, the words we use and how we're programming, how we're programmed ties in so beautifully. And of course, we have to throw in a dash of quantum physics because it just is so. And today is a lot about that positive intelligence. We embrace positive and emotional intelligence. And today we're going to be using the work of Shirzad Chamine, positive intelligence, to really achieve that mental makeover, which is an integral part of the leadership growth formula. Kelly, take it away.
It sure is, Terry. And, we define mental fitness as your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than a negative perspective. And oh my goodness, that's so hard to do because oftentimes we feel that we're hardwired a certain way. And now we know that with neuroplasticity, we can actually choose to create a new neurological pathway where we perceive things as positive rather than negative. And we also know that if you think about the work that we've done over the years with advanced leadership and leadership growth formula, we started with emotional intelligence and really elevating our self-awareness, our social awareness, our self-regulation and relationship management. Those were all and continue to be the domains that make up emotional intelligence, or EQ. Now we have positive intelligence. And Terry and I liken this as to a three-legged stool, right? I mean, first you have IQ, then you have EQ, and now you have PQ, your positivity quotient. And that positivity quotient matters dramatically if you are to become and be an effective leader. So let's talk a little bit about sort of what goes into positive intelligence and achieving a mental makeover. Well, ironically, we start with what is known as factor analysis. Now, if you think about it, 3 colors, that's it.
Good.
Red, blue, and yellow, 3 colors create the magnificent spectrum that is our world. The incredible works of art, Monet, Van Gogh, Starry Night, all of if you think, I would just get goosebumps thinking about the brilliance of color, the peacocks behind me, the flowers on my desk. They're all created from just 3 colors. So Terry's going to walk us through the 3 mental muscles that are required and that make up positive intelligence.
Yes, only 3 muscles to focus on. And what are those muscles? Intercepting the voices of the saboteur, engaging the voice of the sage, and strengthening your ability to choose on demand. Oh my gosh, right, Kelly? Only 3 mental muscles. And yet, as a part of this, we have to start with those saboteur voices. Now, we like to play and say, do you have a voice in your head, or how many voices? And so often we'll have people say, no voices in my head. And we got to go, well, that voice in your head that just said you don't have a voice in your head would be the voice in your head. It's the human condition.
That's the one we're talking about.
Exactly. We all have voices in our heads. It's just, do we allow the voices to control us, or do we control the voice in our head? And so what are those voices? Well, there's 10 saboteur. It's been identified. And the judge is the leading saboteur. Oh my gosh. So there's an assessment that oftentimes people take, and the judge doesn't even show up on the assessment because it's just universal. It's a saboteur that ignites the other 9. And what does the judge do? It judges pretty much everything. It's that narrator that's going on, right? We judge ourselves most often ruthlessly. We judge others, and we judge circumstances. Now, it's pretty common to notice when we're judging ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. You know, I'll be happy when something outside of me changes, when I graduate school, when I get that promotion, when I find the love of my life, when the list goes on and on. That's the voice of the judge judging us. The sneaky one is the judging of circumstances. Anytime we're complaining about something we don't like, we're judging it. Like, why would we want to complain about the rain? It just is. And yet, so often we do. So this judge is the instigator to cultivate the drinking buddies, we like to say. Kelly, you want to talk a little bit about those drinking buddies that go on up there?
Yeah, listen, the judge has 9 accomplices, and they're all having a happy hour up in our heads, right? Oh, they've got, they're good cohorts. So when we look at what triggers that negative voice, and let's be clear, if the voice isn't kind, loving, supportive, it's likely the voice of the saboteur. And listen, when we were children, that voice served a purpose perhaps in keeping us safe. And yet, here's what we do know is that now that we're adults, we have the ability to discern. And what we want to avoid is making decisions, leading our lives, being in relationships with our families, our friends, our teams from the place of the saboteur voice. Great question to write down is this voice serving me? How is this voice serving me? That will give you a good indication of whether or not it's the saboteur talking. Because that first mental muscle is to intercept this voice. I understand what you're thinking. You're thinking, what, 10 of them? I have to intercept 10 voices? Sometimes it feels like that. And yet, in all likelihood, you can identify with one of these 9. I would imagine that probably a couple of them will rise to the surface based on the internal dialogue that you are accustomed to hearing replay over and over again. The controller, the hyperachiever, the restless, the stickler, the pleaser, the hypervigilant, the avoider, the victim, the hyper-rational. Note that it's not using words that are just simply identifiers. Nothing wrong with being a high achiever. Hyper achiever means that you are taking it to the extreme, perhaps at the detriment to yourself and others. In other words, it may not be serving you. So that goes to say that really applies to all of these 9 voices. We hear them, and then we have to decide whether or not we're actually going to listen to them. Not only that, Are we going to make decisions based on what that voice is telling us? We really have to begin to practice self-awareness and identify what triggers these voices. Because I'll be honest, I kind of like my saboteur voice, my hyperachiever when it kicks in, because I get a lot done, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm in get her done mode. We're not talking about the voice that drives you, the voice that inspires you. We're talking about that voice that drags you down, that shoulda, coulda, woulda, why did you voice. We like to say, if you're shitting yourself, you know it's a saboteur. I should have done this. Why didn't I do that? That second guessing, that nibbling away at your inner trust and self-confidence, that's the voice of the saboteur. And it can often be identified as the voice who keeps you playing small.
Kelly, let me jump in here just a little bit. I love your example about hyperachiever. It's not about not achieving. It's when that voice tells you, if you're not achieving, you're not worthy of love.
Exactly.
Like, we think we have to be achieving to be good enough. That's an important distinction.
Totally. It really is. And when you think about what your dominant saboteur is, that's the voice that is the loudest, right? That shows up most frequently to sort of pummel you and second guess you. And so oftentimes when we know that that's coming up for us, one of the ways to really demystify it and really disempower it is just simply call it out and name it. Terry and I both have names for our saboteurs. Terry, you want to share a few of yours?
Oh, yeah. There's further, faster, Frank. There's hurry up, Harriet. You know, it's just like, go, 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 do, get her done, get her done. You know, I'm not worthy of, I'm not good enough if I'm not producing, right? I've got that hyperachiever going on too, Kelly. Yeah, that voice, I liken it to, these voices are like wild stallions in our head. And so often that wild stallion is allowed, like these voices, to run free. Yeah. And what wild stallion wants to be broken and ridden? So taking control back, like, you aren't the voice in your head, you're the one. And Kelly, so yeah, the naming piece, yes, ma'am.
Important, because then we can release it, we can let it go, we can call it out and say, oh, there you are again, my old friend. Mine happens to be Slick's sister, because she's so slick, I hardly sometimes know she's talking until it's too late. And I called her sister because, you know what, she's a part of me. So we can be easy and have some fun with this too, because we know the goal isn't to never hear a negative voice ever again in our lives. The goal is to intercept it and then to manage it appropriately, to recover and to regain our confidence and regain that positivity faster and quicker. And just naming it really just sort of takes the sting out of it and adds a little bit of humor to it, so that we know when it shows up that it's not a voice that is going to empower us. It's a voice that's going to keep us in a box. We also, oh my gosh, when we think of the limitations that our saboteur voices put on us, it's almost, we love to use this analogy, because oftentimes the voice shows up and we just invite it in and let it homestead, and it just stays around and hangs around, and before long we attach ourselves to it, we identify with it. And the truth is that you would never in a million years knowingly put your hand on that hot stove, would you? None of us would. And yet psychologically, emotionally, mentally, when we let our saboteurs run and dictate and determine our lives, we are just keeping our hand on that hot stove indefinitely. It's just there until we choose to take our hand off that hot stove and release that negative voice in service of that number 2 mental muscle, which is engaging the sage.
Yes, number 2 muscle. Number 1, intercept the saboteur. Number 2, engage the sage. So there's a huge distinction between the voices of the saboteur and the voices of the sage. I guess you could liken it to pushing you into action versus pulling you, which is kinder and gentler. So our saboteur voices, and I want to really call out the distinction. You are not those voices. You are the one having those. So let's not say I am a hyperachiever or I am hypervigilant. It's I have a hyperachiever voice that's going off on me right now. And those voices that we think they're going to motivate us. And truly, it's about negative emotions. The pushing is through fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, that sense of insecurity. That doesn't feel good. I'm going to go back to what Kelly said. If the voice, if it's not kind, loving, supportive, and encouraging, it's a saboteur voice squawking at you. It's that hand on the hot stove. How long would you keep it there? Well, notice it for what, half a split second, and then take your hand off and engage that sage voice, not sage that you put on the turkey at Thanksgiving.
Not at Thanksgiving, not a Thanksgiving spice.
No, no, no. It's a sage, your elder wise self that motivates through positive emotions, right? Empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, purpose, that sense of, yeah, I've got this, that wisdom that lives within each of us, that doesn't need that kick in the rear. We don't need, some people will say, yeah, but it's gotten me so far. And we have to go, well, what's the price that you've been paying by listening to the saboteur voice? When you have a positive, intuitive, all-knowing voice that is that kind, loving, and encouraging. Yeah. Another aspect of the sage is a perspective. And the sage perspective, this might be one of the key outcomes for you today when you're listening to this, that every outcome or circumstance that you're living with can be turned into a gift and an opportunity.
Wow.
Talk about a shift in perspective. What does this mean? You can either accept what's showing up. If you don't want to accept it, turn it into an opportunity. Or another thing we like to say is stop finality, right? Some things are givens, they just are, and you have a choice in how to interact with it. What if you were to embrace the philosophy? This is big. Life is always showing up for me, not against me. So what is the gift or opportunity in this situation I'm facing right now? Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Seeing obstacles as opportunities. Let's take an easy peasy example of traffic. Let's say you're on your way to the office, to the store, to the property, wherever you are going for work, and you're stuck in traffic. And you're in charge of the meeting that is soon to start. What do you choose to do? It's an obstacle, all right. All those cars are an impediment for you to arrive to your meeting on time. You have a myriad of options, one of which might be to get really upset, to let your blood boil, to let your amygdala take over, to let that adrenaline and cortisol curse through your body. And how is that going to have you showing up? Probably not feeling in prime condition for your meeting. So what about seeing a few other options? I'm going to be late. That's a given, out of my control. I could call a coworker, have them start the meeting. Yeah, they're empowered. Takes all that pressure right off you. Turn up the music, and when you show up, you feel in good order. Mm-hmm. Or you might use that time. You make a call, say, we're going to start 30 minutes later. And you use that time to go over exactly what you're going to say, better preparation, all these different options. You do not have to get upset. That's a choice, right? The traffic isn't making you mad. You're allowing the traffic to control you. So how do you routinely, what's your set point on seeing obstacles as opportunities to view things differently in a more empowered way? So the question, which perspective is true? Saboteur, oh, this is bad, bad, bad. Or sage, this is a gift. Let me see how that opportunity presents itself so I can shift my perspective. Which perspective is true? Which one would you say right now? What's your go-to? Kelly, the answer is whichever you believe comes true. You get to choose. Do you allow the traffic to just set you right off? Or do you go, life is showing up for me. I'm in traffic right now. How can I reframe this operative word into an opportunity for me to be more prepared, for me to be more relaxed when I walk into that meeting? We're at choice. Now, there are 5 sage superpowers that are also able to assist once you really dive into the sage approach. And that's empathy, your love of yourself and others. Really, empathy is one of the strongest leadership qualities today. Really taking care, another way of saying that is well-being, taking care of ourselves and having the orientation of the well-being, the care of others. Exploration, the love of discovery. Oh my gosh, what's really going on here? How else might I look at this situation? The love of innovation, possibility. There's a lot of different avenues of paths that we could take to solve this or view this or to navigate through. Oh, the next, navigate. Love of meaning and purpose. What is that 30,000-foot view? 30 days from now, looking back, how will I wish I had handled this? Heck, let's go the end of my life. There's a big one. Looking back, will this really have made that much difference that I need to get so upset about whatever is going on that I feel out of control? What's another way that ties into my true north, how I really choose and prefer to live? And then activate, love of making things happen. Oh boy, Kelly and I love that. Activate. Yeah. So let's just get into it and make it happen because it sure feels good to be moving forward. So 5 sage powers that you can also lean into. We encourage you to pick out just one and play with that a little bit today as you go through your day, choosing that sage perspective and utilizing one of these superpowers.
And, Terry, this work is really where our flagship Leadership Growth Formula program brings the depth of exploration and understanding and learning around this particular element. We know we have to be self-aware and understand when the saboteur, what triggers a saboteur, and which saboteurs are noisiest in our daily lives, and yet understanding how to every single day tap into these sage superpowers is really the deep dive work that we'll be doing at our 2.5-day flagship program. And we'll share those dates with you at the conclusion of our webinar, because look, the third and final mental muscle is self-command. We have to be able to step into a place of action and control, self-regulation, understanding that we absolutely can and do have the power to choose our response. We love, love, love Viktor Frankl's quote from the book Man's Search for Meaning. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom and our power to choose how we respond. Terry talked about how you see this. If your perspective is this is negative, that's the result you're going to experience. If you see it as a gift and as positive, that's going to fuel and propel you and accelerate you much, much faster toward a positive, winning, desired result and outcome. So let's look at that formula that we have shared for years. And that is that the event, being stuck in traffic, is completely outside of your control. Your response to it, however, is 100% within your control. You have the power to choose. That's going to deliver the outcome. E plus R equals O. And our formula, our leadership growth formula, and that beautiful quote by Viktor Frankl really lives in that plus sign, right? In between the event, which is the stimulus, and your response to it lies that beautiful, incredible choice. I get to choose. And whatever I choose is really going to dictate the outcome. Wow, right? I mean, that to me is so very powerful, is that we do have the power to choose. So, how do you tap into your sage voice, that positive perspective? We have, and we'll certainly be doing a deeper dive on this in our program, but they're called PQ, Positivity Quotient Reps. And they tap into all 5 of the senses: auditory, kinesthetic, visual, breath. We explore them all so that you have immediate tools at your fingertips to dive into addressing and moving very quickly from saboteur over to sage. And that really is, for us, the simplicity of this operating system. Mm-hmm. You have a negative emotion, stop. You're in saboteur mode. You can do these PQ reps that we will be teaching you to quiet that saboteur and activate the sage, that self-command muscle that we talked about, and assume that sage perspective in terms of what is a positive way of looking at this. If I want a desired result that I'm not seeing now, how else can I shift how I'm seeing it, how I feel about it, what I think about it, so that I can pair it up with an external action that gets that desired result I'm looking for? So
I love that, Kelly. Love this simplicity.
It's just simplicity of it is the beauty. And now Terry's going to just take us on home and wrap up for us.
It's your choice. You might want to take a screenshot of this. It's so simple. You know which door. It's your choice. What path? Play to the outcome. I am known for saying that with so many clients. Play to the outcome. There are so many things beyond our control. Why allow ourselves to get upset? We have a choice in how we respond. We're empowered. I guess we could call this mental makeover, Kelly, an empowerment program.
It really is. Is this I would say empowerment 101, right?
Yes, I would too. So we're wrapping up our summer series. We so wholeheartedly hope that you have gleaned innumerable tools and processes and techniques and ways to make your life better, to make your life easier. Now, everything we serve up is effective for you personally as well as professionally. And Kelly and I, you'll hear us say many times, we're both practitioners. We really practice and lovingly achieve more desired results now than we used to in the past, because
exponentially,
this formula works.
Well, and it's been so fun to know that we are connecting with you over these hot few summer months, and to provide you with skills, tools, and resources to elevate your leadership game. So thank you so much for joining us this summer.
Thank you.